I go to the ring often. I was practicing my entrance, and for some reason, like I was out line dancing, and it was like funny. And then I was like doing this little dance, and I was like, I want to do this, and like everyone was like laughing at me. They're like, "You want this to be your theme song?" And I was like, "Yes, I want this to be my theme song. Like, I don't care, like whatever." But then when I was practicing that, and then I also like had Dirty Girl on there, like I just kept practicing it, and then I was like, I actually like this vibe. I was like, I don't know what vibe it is because it's giving me like everything that I was thinking.
You are listening to the Ropes N Riffs podcast with your host, John Kiernan.
Lacey Lane joining us on the show today. Good to see you.
Hey, how are you doing?
I think it's a beautiful day here in New Jersey, but you just got done with Boca Raton Championship Wrestling, where I can always say fondly that I remember Boca Raton. I lived down there for a couple of years. My wife and I actually met down there when we were in college, so Boca Raton will always be very near and dear to my heart. Although when I was there, I don't think they were running. How is that as a promotion to work for? It looks awesome.
No, they're sick. Like they go the whole nine for that. Like they just with entrances, like they have like your like little trons, they have the lights, they have the smoke, the pyro. Like I was like, what? He was like before I walked out, I heard him talking to Shane, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna hit you with that hard pyro and whatever. I'm just like standing there, and then he walks over, he's like, yeah, you're gonna have some smoke, and I was like, cool guy. Like I was like, awesome. But it was
Awesome.
cool, yeah.
I remember when I was younger, because I grew up in Queens, and I would go to, I guess, what you would call the equivalent of like an indie show, right? And it was Virgil was wrestling. That tells you how long ago it was, and I was like this big, crazy. And I remember then they would just play whatever music. They wouldn't even try to pull someone's theme from, wherever they were from. It was just whatever music we happened to have on the jukebox in the back. There was no pyro. This was in like some hall or something, and you're like, all right, great. And now all of a sudden, wrestling's become, such a hot topic, such a thing like that, where I think a lot of these indie companies are going, you know what, we got to treat these talents right because you guys deserve to be treated right. So you know what, let's get the Tron, and if we can get the smoke machine for Lacey Lane, throw on the smoke machine for Lacey Lane. Let me tell you.
Yeah, no, it's pretty sick. I like how they're doing it now.
So we're going to talk a bit about some of the entrance themes that you've used over time in a lot of different elements of your career here. Talking about Boca Raton one more time, it was funny because the theme that we got to jam on together, which we'll get to a little bit later in the interview here, and for those listening, check it out wherever you check out music right now. That is the shameless cheap plug for both you and I. But for that one, that was the first time that we had seen that one live, and it was still in his demo stages, and it was cool to be able to see like, oh, Lacey Lane's coming out, and you're hearing like the first iterations of the theme. It was really cool to see that. So
Yeah, no,
total
that's
sidebar, we'll
amazing.
jump into a little bit later.
Awesome.
So you have gone through lots of different stages in your wrestling career, but when you first started in wrestling, what were some of the pieces of music that you used as your entrance theme?
I think a big heavy influence was Motionless in White. It was America, which was crazy. I was like, because I thought like the chanting part, because like I wanted someone to spell something, so that's why I like really vibe with that song. But they're also like my favorite band, so like that was my first entrance music. And then when I joined Rebellion, that was Turn Up was like another one. It's like that one was so sick, and I used that for so long too. So like it was two different vibes. But those are mainly my two that I vibed with.
And it matches actually some of the references you gave me too, because before we went in the direction that everyone's going to be hearing from this point forward, you gave me a lot of things. You gave me electronic music, you gave me heavy music, and I'm always happy to hear what inspires wrestlers, but I was not expecting the heavy stuff.
No, I think that's what people forget. Like, I'm like a. It's like weird to say like I'm like well rounded with that, but like I'm like metal to like the core. Like I love metal. Like that's like my jam. But I also on the other spectrum, I like country music, and my whole time spent in WWE was like with EDM. So like I think it's very versatile. I think it explains like just giving you that at first is like my personality all around. It's just all over the place.
And I love the fact that you said that you went from metal to country, because that's kind of a thing that's happened with me over the last couple of years, and from like a guitar playing thing. My I guess, vocation of like my favorite style is like heavy rock, metal, that kind of stuff. But as I got into guitar, it was like, oh, these country guys are shredding in a way that nobody else does. So I'd be remiss if before we get into everything else, what are some of your favorite metal artists? And what are some of your favorite country artists? I know you just said Motionless in White, so we got to put them off to the side for a second. But outside of those, who are some of your favorites?
Black Veil Brides, Ice Nine Kills. I like Metallica, Marilyn Manson. I like Hatebreed. I love a Starlit Drive. I love Code Orange, like
Yeah.
Slipknot, Mudvayne.
You're just naming all the biggies, all the greats. There you
Yeah,
go.
no, yeah, I mess with it hard. Like I remember back in high school, like that was my thing. Like I was so into Korn back in the day, and my first ever band was All American Rejects. I know they're like not heavy metal, but like it's for any kind of like punk rock because I was like really into punk rock too. So it was like it was All American Rejects and the Academy is and like the Used, and then like it switched over, and then now we're like at like World Alive, Upon a Burning Body, and like Motionless in White, like just crazy, and now like new age, like I really enjoy like Sleep Theory and Bad Omen, and like like there's just so many that it's so many nostalgic, like and newer and whatnot, but like with country obviously like Luke Bryan and all those, Toby Keith and just those kind of, what I'm saying, like Keith Urban, and those are like my jams. And there's a couple new stuff like Lenny Cooper has a lot of good stuff, and I don't know if people consider that like country rap or like whatever that is. Lenny Cooper has a lot of good jams.
It all
So
bridges nowadays. So
yeah, no, it's cool, but it's like what you can dance to. Like we're out here dancing to friggin' I don't know, any like to what is it called? What is his name? Jay Sean. Like, what I'm saying? Like, you can use anything at this point for country, So
now, I ask you this because this was my kind of go into country. For me, when I was a youngin', very much listening to similar things there, I kind of went from the real heavy stuff into more punk, like what we call melodic hardcore, like, a Wilhelm scream, like that kind of stuff, and like Rise Against. And so those were always bands that really resonated with me. And I
yeah,
remember being young and being like, yo, I wouldn't be caught dead listening to country. Like, what are you talking about? It
yeah,
took me until like 3 years ago to be like, you know what? Okay, Brad Paisley is just the master in all
yes,
the ways. And
yeah,
I went out to one of these music conventions and again, kind of still a little bit like getting into country, but not being super into it. And all of a sudden, I got asked to play on stage with my cousin's cover band at this place called The Ranch. And great band, plays just all the music in all the ways. But they had me on stage doing Country Girl. And I'm just like, oh, Country Girl, Shake It For Me, okay. And I was just like, this song vibes, man. Were you
yeah.
kind of like I was into metal and you couldn't catch me dead in country, or were you just always super open into all the different styles?
Right. I think everyone thinks it's like just a bunch of like twang and like, like kind of whatever, like, but like new age country, like the way it's evolved is like, it makes it like enjoyable. Obviously, I like, the old school, and the slow stuff. Like I listen to Eric Church and stuff and his stuff, like whatever. But like it's just for me, I didn't like it because that was my mentality. And was it Dixie Chicks who like who they had one song, and then um my other song, my first ever country song was Barbecue Stain on my white t-shirt. And that's where I feel like that really got me into it because I was doing like sports medicine with the baseball team. They were like, "Oh, let's go to this like country bar." And then I heard that song and one of the Dixie Chicks songs. And then from there, it like, then my whole thing like evolved. Like, and I was like, this is really cool. I was like, I didn't know like I would like it like this. Like,
When you're so into different styles, it's almost just like over time, even if you're someone like me who's just like, no country, eventually you end up liking it all because there's always something that pulls at your heartstrings. I've always told people, I'm like, listen, most of these soft songs that you listen could totally be a punk song. You could totally turn it to a metal song. You could turn it into a country song. It's like, if the vibe is the vibe and the music is good, that's what you dig on. So
And all my
totally.
friends who I've taken have not liked country at all, and then everyone I've taken to the country bar with me has ended up liking so much. Like, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. There's no reason to be hating on it at all. So
So if you see Lacey Lane, ladies and gentlemen, know that you got about a 50% chance of converting into being a country person also. Just saying. Just putting that out there right
1000%.
now. So you end up coming to WWE and you go through the Mae Young Classic, and then obviously your tag team with Casey, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. Katana Chance, for those who are familiar with the name there, Kayden Carter, familiar with your work in WWE. In terms of when you join the Mae Young Classic, we'll start there because I had Lindsay Dorado talking about the Cruiserweight Classic. Lindsay is somebody who I've written a theme for before also, and he's had some interesting stories about the selection of some of the music within what we call like the classic series, like Cruiserweight, Mae Young, all that kind of stuff. When you go into the Mae Young Classic, do you talk to us a little bit about how that theme came into play? Because I know that at that time they weren't really writing themes custom for
Mhm.
the Mae Young people, correct?
Yeah, we got to pick it. We got to like we had like a lot of say in like what it was. But I wanted something like, not, like, dark, but, like, because transitioning from my character, I remember I had this, like, lucha character, she was called, like, Renata Calavera. It was only for one show, but it was for Dark Horse, and it was really cool, and I remember wanting to be in that dark character. I had the mask, I had the hood, I had the eyes and everything, so we wanted to go into a darker direction, so that's the one that we picked, for that one, which I thought was cool. I thought it was like mystery. I thought it served like, like not dark and ominous, but like, like ninja assassin. I don't know. Superhero, dark villain. I don't know.
And it's one of those things too, where it's just like I feel like I've talked to a couple people on the show who have gone through Mae Young Classic. Mercedes Martinez, I've worked with her; she's been on the show too. And when I think about those classics, right? And I'm just kind of classifying Cruiserweight and Mae Young kind of in a similar vein here. But I feel like when you go through those, it's such an interesting way of like character development because what you come out of from the Mae Young Classic may be a little bit different than what you're going into it as.
Yeah, no, definitely. I
Yeah.
think that like that was just like you're trying to figure out like what's your vibe and like what it is, but like so many things change over time that like cause you to do that. Like it's not like unless it works. So you know what I'm saying? Unless it's like the most over thing, I can imagine like someone wanting to keep whatever they had there. But I'm just it's like hard to believe that anyone in the Mae Young Classic kept their besides maybe Mako, because I feel Mako's a legend. So like, I don't know who else would if anyone else like kept the original like identity that they had starting in the Mae Young.
Yeah, I forget if Mercedes did, although I know when I first started working with her when she had gone to TNA, I think she really liked her Mae Young theme, and she was like, "Hey, something kind of ish like this." And if you listen to the themes that have gone over time with that, it's all I don't want to say representative of that. I coin what we've come up with now as the Mercedes Martinez melody, which if you listen to, I guess you could even start from there. The CFO, whoever wrote that one, right? You guys can check me in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. But all the way to now it's kind of transitioned into something else, right? But with you, then you come out of the Mae Young Classic and then you start doing lots of different things, including what many may be familiar with your tag team with Katana Chance, Kacy Catanzaro, both pre and post WWE as well. And you guys had a couple of different themes. Obviously, you had Life of the Party, you had Party All the Time. And when I was looking it up, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Here's the names of all the different themes. But I think one theme was one that was just transitioned with a little bit of a different intro, which is something that's not too uncommon in themes now. In terms of some of the themes you got to work on, or some of the themes that you used in that tag team, how much input did you guys have in terms of being able to use, or how much input did you guys have in terms of that theme music?
Think I can't remember the name of it. Whatever. I think Victory March was my song. There's one after it. It was our first one, and it sounded like I don't even know. It sounded like an all American thing mixed with my thing, and like that one we had. They were just like, "We have this for you." Like that one was just like, "Here you go." Like we think this would work, so we listened to it, made it work, whatever. But then after that, when we were switching, we had given inspo of like who like basically of artists, and like Tiesto was like the big inspiration, and the song was Break the House Down, and like that it's crazy because coming from that song, when they developed our song, end up being a Tiesto song. Like that actual the actual tone of that is a song that he did with I can't remember who he did it with. It was a collab song. But I was like, this is the same exact beat. It was like the dun 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 dun, and I was like, That's so like, it's just it was, like, a very scary. I wish I could talk to him in person one day and tell him that, like, the inspiration came from one of his older songs, but it turned into, like, a whole new song with the same exact beat, which is crazy, and I don't think it was done on purpose, because it came out after our thing came out, so I was like, however he picked the sound beat or whoever picked that sound beat was crazy.
So there is some sort of like connection to Tiesto, and that's a great one too. Tiesto is not someone I've been pulled to as a reference yet for entrance scenes, but someone that was very much someone I listened to when I was much younger. So shout out to Tiesto on that. That's awesome. And so you talked also about Victory March a little bit because Victory March I should have brought up before was the theme you used before the tag team also.
Yes. So that was like a version, I feel like it was like in the same realm of like what I had before that. So like I think that that was like the work of transitioning because I was starting to modify my character at that point anyways. So it was just like I was trying to try something new. I wanted to see what was working because it's like no one ever tells you if it works or not. So like I don't know. Like I didn't know if it was like working or not. Like that's just the thing. Is like I didn't know. Like so that's why we were just making a transition. I'm trying to really think of like how that song even came about. Like, I don't even remember being like, "Oh, I need to change it," or something like that. But I think my song always ended up in something. So it was like when I did the first one, I think it ended up in like one of those like a cold commercial, saying something like that. I think it ended up in something, and I was like, "Oh," and then they were like, "Okay, well, like let's just like change it a little bit," and then we found like Victory March, and then yeah,
Right, like you're kind of selecting from a library and then it shows up somewhere and you're like, "Well, that's my theme, but now we gotta go here." Yeah, totally.
you just don't
Now,
want to
when you're
conflict with everything else.
well, when you're doing something like that, right? Because it's interesting. And when I talk to a lot of modern talent, the conversation usually is, hey, with WWE, they're having you choose from a library. And then if that gets over, then maybe they'll go ahead and make some changes to that. Was that kind of similar when you were selecting your music over time?
I don't even know where ours came from to be honest. Like I know that like I worked with like Neil and then I know Def Rebel like was like a part of it and whatnot. But I know that like we did go back and forth where like there was like this certain beat and we're like take this out or like can you add this here or like is that there? So we had a lot of input in that. Like but I don't know if like super custom, like, if it's a band. I think on that level where it's like, let's say, like, Rhea, like, with Motionless in White, like, that's a whole another, like, unique monster of, like, how that theme can come to somebody or, like, with Priestess, with his I just feel like there's so many factors that, like, come into play, but, like, I mean, at least we have some kinda input, but, like, a whole custom song is, like, that's a whole nother level.
Of course, yeah, and I do like the fact though that you're saying that there was some input, and it's funny because it goes all over the gamut, right? I've heard people say I've had lots of input on my entrance theme, and specifically with WWE, right? When you're working with someone like me or an entrance composer, you have as much feedback as the communication that you deliver. Which, by the way, for those who don't know, Lacey Lane is a great communicator when it comes to all this. I love the fact, and it's just every time I talk to wrestlers, they're like, "I hope I'm not being too much." No, you're awesome. The more you tell me, the more you tell us, the more your theme is gonna be what you need. So I always appreciate that. But it's crazy because I hear the gamut of I was given a theme and I heard it right when I walked out, or I hear, no, 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 there was a big back and forth between whoever was doing the entry theme at the time there. So it's always interesting to hear like different people who have come from, WWE and done that to hear what their experience was. And with this theme set that you had for you and Katana Chance, it changed a little bit over time when you were doing NXT 2.0, when you ended up doing just everything that you've done with that team. And you guys had influence there, it sounds like, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So with that one, and I know that you were going through a little bit of a character transition at that time. What was the feedback that you got from? I'll ask you like this: what theme song that you've had do you think had the best response from the crowd?
I mean, it definitely had to be, Party All the Time, I think, because I mean, Life of the Party is just a version. I think there's a two different they're the same but different versions. So I just think that both of those because it just seemed like more crowd participation. I feel like it was so different. I feel like it was just it was more unique because like we were just trying to get away from being like having like the same kind of style that everyone else had. So like I mean I don't see anybody out there trying to like jam with like some EDM music, like you know what I'm saying. It's like people forget like EDM is like one of the biggest like kind of like things in the world, like genres. Like I mean you have like for just the Tomorrowland there's like over the course of like a weekend, there's over 1 million people there. Like, who says they have over 1 million people attending an event, or like EDC where it's over, 500,000? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. That's like
Right.
blowing any kind of wrestling, UFC fight sporting event numbers out of the water. You know what I'm saying? In person. That's like an in person thing. Not just that doesn't count who's listening to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I was really hyped for that, and I feel like there like some people can like resonate with that. And a lot of people said like, "Oh, like the party thing wasn't get." I was like, "No, it would get over if it was put out there the way we wanted it to be." You know what I'm saying? Like I get it, it's not for everybody, but it's a different feel. Like everyone's not like this, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not everyone's like just the same as like a lot of people won't like that. Like I just wanted to bring something different. I think that was the best one, to be fair. Mm.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. I think that also it kind of matched what you guys were doing. And that's an obvious statement, right? You guys were very high energy. And, in that tag team, I think that, in a lot of ways, you were an innovator in the WWE style of women's wrestling because I think everybody would see, okay, you guys are coming out together. You have these amazing tag moves. You have this amazing entrance. You guys are coming out. You got this awesome music. And there was so much that you guys brought to the table. I felt like the music amplified that, which I've always said the music has to amplify the character has to amplify the music, right? It's not one or the other. The music can do a lot. But I've even talked to talents before that are just like, hey, the music that I'm using needs to have these cues. And I love it when we talk about having those cues because then it gets you involved and then it gets the crowd involved and things like that. So exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I think that all makes sense. And then we come to the most recent theme, which is, and then we get to you coming out to AEW challenging one Mercedes Monet. And first off, great match. First off.
Thank you.
Second to that, though, again, talking about the different styles of music. Someone, because this was before that we had met, or maybe around the time, or whatever the case may be. We hadn't started working on your theme yet, right? And you came out to something fairly heavy there.
I have no idea what I came out to. I could not hear anything. They was so I kid you not. I was like, what did I come out to? I literally had to keep asking everybody. I was like, what was the song? Because I didn't know. Like I couldn't hear a thing out there. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like the energy, but I couldn't even tell you what kind of genre that was. Like I didn't like, well, apparently it was heavy because I had no idea.
Even coming into this interview, I was just like, all right, Lacey Lane AEW theme, and there's nothing on it. So it might have been one of the tracks they have cataloged in the library
What
there.
did a couple I did like especially with like Mina, I had something different, completely different. Then there was another match that I had and like a dark match, and I'm just like I don't know. I was like, I'm just gonna do the same. Actually, I'm not trying to do the same thing, which is funny because I feel like maybe I looked awkward because it's like I didn't know what I was coming out to. So then I'm just like out there I'm like free like lancing it. I'm just like, well, this sucks. Like, but then after that, I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna just do the same thing, no matter whatever the song is. We're just gonna do the same entrance. It'll be fine.
And that's a gimmick then, right? It's just you just come out to something new every single time. It's like, what's she supposed to be doing? I don't know. Just go with it.
Just go
Just
with
go
it.
with it.
Whatever it
But
is.
now, but now you don't have to worry about that
Yeah.
because you have "Let's Go for a Ride,"
Yeah.
right? Which is the theme that we've gotten to jam on a little bit. And first off, just having you on the other side of the camera here and being able to say it to you, I'm always really just happy when I get to work with other talents, and it's always super cool. So thank you for entrusting me with your theme. Goes without saying. And it's been such a cool time to work with you. So when we started talking, it was Justin over at United Wrestling Network who was just like, hey, Lacey needs a theme. And then you had the Facebook thing up, and then we got connected. And it was funny because I tell people all the time, like they'll tag me on Facebook to work on people's themes if they have a post up. And I'm like, hey, you mind connecting us in a messenger thing just because Facebook can be weird. It's going to go to an inbox and whatever. And then you messaged back immediately. I was like, yeah, Justin, don't worry about it. Thank you. Good talk, bro. But that was a cool one to work on. And whenever I get to work on electronic themes like that, it's always something coming from a bit of a heavier background where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's see where this goes. But again, you had such a clear vision on where you wanted to go. So for you coming into this, coming off of everything that you've done, what were you thinking of in terms of the theme that we worked on together?
I was getting so frustrated because like everyone kept asking me for a theme song, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I didn't want to go back and like go to my old one, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I was like, I don't know what direction. But I go to the ring often. I was practicing my entrance, and for some reason, like, okay, I was out line dancing and it was like funny. And then I was like doing this little dance and I was like, I want to do this. And like everyone was like laughing at me. They're like, you want this to be your theme song? And I was like, yes, I want this to be my theme song. Like, I don't care, like whatever. But then when I was practicing that, and then I also like had Dirty Girl on, like I just kept practicing it. And then I was like, I actually like this vibe. I was like, I don't know what vibe it is because it's giving me like everything that I was thinking. I'm not saying it's like a rock version, but it is. It has like a little bit of rock. It has a little bit of sexy. It has a little bit of country. It has like a lot of like, it's just like it's upbeat. I don't know. Like it's all in one. And I remember I was like scared to do it. And then when I was in the Philippines was the first time that I did use it. And because like I asked somebody else and she's like, oh, I like this song. She's like, just try it. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I tried it. I was like, oh, I like this vibe. I was like, okay, this is like, it's me in boxed in one, because that's what a lot of people say is like, they'll like look at one thing and they'll be like, oh, that is you. And then look at another thing that's like, oh, that's you too. But that all in one was the most comfortable I felt with a song. So like I wanted just to have that, just because again I practiced it so much to that song, which I didn't realize it would become a thing. But then once I actually did it for a crowd, it was they were there, they were clapping, they were for it. And then I was like, okay, let's try it again. And then I went to Singapore and I did it again and they were for it again. And I was like, okay, this is really catching with everyone, so like let's do it. And that's just how that came about. Mhm.
I love that. And it's one of these things too that when a lot of wrestlers will give me like references, right? Oh, I want my theme to be like this. We obviously are creating themes that are meant for you, the talent. But it was the same kind of vibe as we were talking about this entire interview, right? It's been like, okay, cool. I like this, but I like this, but I like this. And it was like, I like this song, and it was a CDM song. And then, oh, I like this song, and it's a super heavy song. And I'm sitting there just like, oh my God. All right, cool. So I'm hoping I get the first one, at least like the general vibe. And I'm glad that we hit that up front. Yeah. And there have been a couple different versions that we've done of that song, which now you hear the final version on streaming and live and anywhere that Lacey Lane is wrestling. So it's really cool to see where that came. And for me, being able to tag in the ever so reliable Jasmine Denise to be able to drop some vocals on that, that was a cool one too. So for you, and this is an interesting one, as you're trying these things to the ring, we're having a conversation, right? And we've gone through multiple versions like we're talking about. There was something that it was like, okay, cool, I need this. Okay, I need this. But there's this little thing. For you, what do you feel like was the thing that was missing until we went, you know what? Puzzle piece, fixed, snap.
I think it was, like, the tempo. I feel like it was, like, the kind of, like, the cadence of it all, because it was, like, I wanted so bad for it to be, because, like I said, my steps and my like, the cadence that I've, like, developed was for Dirty Girl. So, like, I feel like it was because, like, I remember, like, when we like, it's crazy how words can change the whole dynamic, because it felt so fast. You're like, "No, it's the same beat." And I'm like, "Is it?" Like, you know what I'm saying? But then once we took it out and however we got to where we were, I was like, okay, this is way more. And then the more people that I was like, okay, what do you guys think? And they're like, okay, it sounds like this. Like it's like we're getting to that point. And I think that's what I said. I said, I don't think everyone has to have like all these lyrics. I don't think it's necessary sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to sing my whole entire theme song on my whole way out to my entrance. It's just not it's not
You
necessary.
know, it's funny you say that too, because I always start from a place of no vocals. And, I think it comes from my side of kind of being, and I always say it like this, that I'm more composer than producer. And the way I've always described that was producers are, and by the way, everyone will let me know where my right or wrong is on this, but like producers are people that are really about the full soundscape, I would believe, in terms of like the editing, the mixing, all the sound effects, things like that. And I'm always like, that's great. I always feel like I'm producer second, but composer first, meaning it's really about the architecture of the song and it's about, the instrumentation and things like that, the melody. So for me, I've always felt like I started there. Since I've become, friends with like Downstate and people like that and heard their take, they do it from a very different perspective, right? They obviously hit what the talent wants, but a lot of their songs have lyrics. And it's because, again, Zach is an incredible vocalist and they're like, well, it paints a wrestler's story. And I've always been about that, but I've always been like, you don't need to have lyrics in an entrance theme for it to be powerful. It's like you said, it has to match the vibe. It has to match what you're looking for. And you can use songs that have vocals to describe the character, but then you can also remember that the more things you add, the more happens to the song. So we had a pass that had a full line of verses, a whole line of choruses, and you kept hitting me up. You were like, it's too fast. It's too fast. I'm like, I'm literally matching the tempo of this. And then we took the vocals out and you're like, that's it. And I'm like, okay, cool. All I had to do was hit mute. Awesome. But yeah, no, I love that. And being able to see you hit it at Boca Raton was really cool for the first time too, because we were rushing to get that theme done. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, there are many times where it will take a month to get a theme done, 2 months sometimes. There are times where it'll take a few weeks. There are times when people like Lacey, who are ultimately busy, are just like, hey, I need this done. And I'm not snapping. You didn't snap at me. I'm just making it snappy to make this snappy. But it's sometimes things need to be turned around a little bit. And I know that the Boca Raton guy was getting on you to get something. So
But
I'm glad we got there.
yeah, no, and especially it was hard to communicate being in another country in a different time zone. Like we're trying to figure everything out, and like you're sleeping, I'm awake, I'm sleeping, you're awake. I'm just like, there's just so much going on. I'm like, okay, well, we just got to figure it out.
I didn't even know you were abroad. I was just sending you messages. I'm like, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? All right, let me drop one more message. And then you would drop me a message at like 2 in the morning. And at one point you were like, oh, I'm sorry, I was sick and I'm in Philippines. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know where you were.
I know. I didn't like announce like my whole little tour. I didn't even know. Like it just happened so fast, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we're here now. So
I love that. So again, with this theme, everyone can go check it out wherever they check it out. And it's Apple, that's Spotify, that's YouTube, that's all the different places, ladies and gentlemen, and wherever you catch Lacey going forward in the world of professional wrestling. So one thing I wanted to ask you up front here too, for you, what are some of the most important things in an entrance theme, and what have been some of your favorite entrance themes over time?
I mean, I feel like it's so catchy. I feel like I always said, like, if you had a grand entrance, that's why I pushed so hard for us to have, like, such a cool entrance because I could care about anything else. I remember sending, like, videos and, like, I showed, like, the stages, the sets. I was like, here's the lights, here's the smoke, like,
Yeah.
here's this. If you have that, everyone can't help but feel good. Like, I feel like when people see that kind of stuff, and it's unfortunate, like, we didn't make it that far with ours, but I think, like, it's, like, a hook. It's something that people can participate in. Like, people they get wowed by. Like, I think that's why. Like, I think that's why people love the Rumble because it's like, like, well, not the Rumble, but like the countdown is like something is, I'm saying to see who's next and who's like theme song hits, but it's kind of goes like coincides with a regular entrance where it's like let's say like the Brood, it's like coming out from like with fire and looking like vampires and like whatever, like that's so cool. Or like Jericho with the countdown and the lights and the jacket, you know what I'm saying? Like I love stuff like that. Because I feel like it's like catchy. People can just like, either feel involved. They can feel like some kind of emotion in it. Like you feel scared or you feel like it's like fantasy or like we're like, like I don't know. It's just there's so much that is just so cool about just different entrances to me. Cody's, everyone knows the lyrics, they can chant, now here's the pyro, and they got it down to a T. Like, there's just so many cool things that are involved in entrance, but it's like really like getting the crowd to like really like feel like they're a part of it, I think is the most important thing.
And I feel like entrances have changed over time too. You think back to like the 70s and the 80s, and even before that, where it was just like a lot of guys didn't have entrance music, or if they did, it was a popular song and they hope they don't get sued by playing it. Now it's become, because wrestling has become such a production where it's like you have it on streaming, you have it on TVs. It's like now it is something that you need. And I just talked to Brian Myers on the show, who I've written music for, and he was even saying, he goes, think back like 4, 5, 6 years, no one had custom entrance music, but now you're talking about like you can't be caught dead without it because of all the streaming, and every wrestler is kind of their own independent product right now. So
Exactly.
it's like everybody kind of needs something custom, and it's really cool because now you guys have such more control over the characters that you portray with all the different wrestling that's out there.
Exactly. And I feel like that's just important because it's like you're your own person, you're your own business, you're your own brand. And like that like is a big identifying moment to you. Like a lot of people like always came up to me when I was doing meet and greets and was like, oh, like I just doing this. And I'm like, okay, so it's something that's catchy. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like things you do or like how people can participate in however is like it's just so important to people. So like I said, the Brood, honestly, I love vampires, and that was like such a like a little fantasy. I love like Lost Boys, the vampire in Brooklyn, and like Interview with a Vampire. Like those are like things growing up, like like that like coincided with that. That was so cool. I did like Jericho's, obviously, Stone Cold's, because like the glass shattering is just like, It's just something so there. Obviously, Undertaker always getting like the bone chilling, like just excited for that. Definitely the Hardys because that's just we just rock out to that. But yeah, those are like some of my top. Like I just really like. I feel like I was sad. Because I watched it was like when WWE Network had the thing, and I used to love watching like the choices of the top entrances just because it was like you could sit there and be like, oh, like I like this, I didn't like this, like or whatever. But like some of my favorites ended up in there, so I knew I made some good decisions of liking who I did.
And the Hardys have had like so many over time
Yeah.
too, depending on like what promotion they're in or what character they're portraying, and it's just like it's cool to see them continue over time and have some awesome ones. So good choices all
Yeah.
around.
I
So last
actually
question.
wanted to do Bubba and Devon's. Obviously, they're my teachers, and I thought that would be so cool. Like if like we did like a whole scenario where they like recruited us and we became like the Dudley Girls, and then like we did the whole little chirp, like like I thought it'd be cool. But yes, sorry.
Who would be your side Dudley girl then? If
It
you had
would
to
be
choose
it would.
any wrestler.
Oh, I would just thought me and Casey would be that.
Oh, there
Like
you go. All right.
yeah, like I that's where I told that to Bubba. I was like I want to like I think it just it fits. You guys are a tag team. We're a tag team. Like we're like, like I think this would be a good marriage here.
Although we'd have to see you do some sort of like flipping 3D off the ropes because that would be just such a beautiful merge of both you
There
and the
was an
Dudley boys.
idea we were trying to do. I can't remember. I used to come up with some crazy ideas and I can't remember what I told her, but it was something along the lines of like me giving her the 3D to give to someone else, if that made sense. I don't know.
I love that. Yeah. But
Yeah.
Bubba, Devon, this is a call to you. You hear Lacey. You hear her. Let's make this happen because we can make it happen now. Let's make it happen. So before we have you go, we're going to go ahead and do two quick segments here that I have everybody do on the show. So we're going to do a little bit of Music City Rumble, where you get to choose musicians to fight each other in the squared circles. So it is your opportunity to book one men's singles match, one women's singles match, and one tag team match of musicians versus musicians. Who would they be and who goes over? So the floor is yours for our first one with our men's singles match.
Is this any musician that is out there?
Any musician alive or dead.
Okay. Oh, see, that changes a lot of things. Because this is so opposite that I would have like, of course, Motionless in White versus Michael Jackson.
Oh, there you go.
He can moonwalk away. It's okay.
I was gonna say well, first off, you got to choose who goes over on that one. But if Michael Jackson's moonwalking away, sounds like he
Yeah.
forfeits.
Yeah. I could see him. I could see him like with the band pulling up and they look crazy, and then he just win by count out.
Isn't there a wrestler now that also does the Michael Jackson impersonation?
There is. It's really cool. It's really cool. There was actually someone in Singapore who that used to be a gimmick of his, and then when I went to Singapore for Halloween, he actually was like, "Oh, like, I used to do this," and I was like, "Are you gonna do something fun?" I was like, "Are you gonna moonwalk?" I was like, "Are you gonna like get on your tippy toes?" And he's like, "No," and I was like, "Then why are you cosplaying Michael Jackson?"
So now we got our women's one-on-one match.
Who are my favorites? Who do I listen to? Who? Okay, okay, I got this. Let's do, because this seems like a fair match. Let's do Ariana Grande versus Taylor Swift.
Ooh, who wins that one?
Let's go with Ari. She was feisty as Cat and victorious, so I think it'll be, yeah.
There you go. Tay, I'm sorry. You've been on this podcast a couple times. You've been on Music City Rumble a couple times. And I forget how many times you've gone over, but today is not one of
Not
those
today
days.
is not the day.
And now you got the tag team match. So you book a band versus a band. Who's going over and who are your choices?
Okay, a band versus a band. Let's do Black Veil Brides versus Sleep Theory. And let's go with Black Veil Brides over. Sorry, Sleep Theory.
See, that's just like the deep cut for you, though. You're like, they're always going to win no matter who else they're against.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that one. Last question I got for you before we end our show here. If you had to choose 3 songs to put on a playlist that represent you, the person, what would those 3 songs be?
It'd be Motionless in White, Burned at Both Ends, Waka Flocka, No Hands. And Lou Bryan, That's My Kind of Night.
Oh, man. That is the quickest that anybody has ever chosen songs. Oh, man.
Those are like my favorite. Well, I have like literally like no matter where I am, like line dancing in the gym, like, No Hands is, like, my jam, like, I'll never get tired of that song. Motionless in White has forever been, Burn at Both Ends has been my favorite song, which I wanted to use as a theme in the beginning, but I could never because it's just too hardcore and it doesn't have, like, any kind of, like, chill in it, like, to be able to use that. And look, Brian, obviously, like, that's just my countryside. I've always loved that song. It's you know what I'm saying? Like, that's been one of the songs I've loved to dance to, and I think all 3 as a unit, it just describes me as, like, a person in one little ball, so, mm.
I love that. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if Lacey Lane ever does decide to go back to the dark side, will we have a heavy metal version of Let's Go for a Ride? You bet your ass we will. 100%. And we'll see how that goes. Keep it low tuned, all that kind of stuff. It'll be awesome. In fact, maybe we'll just make one just to say we'll satisfy all of the Lacey Lane things and then make a country one. It'll be great. So,
Awesome.
Lacey, it has been awesome having you on the show, and it's been an honor working with you on this one. And thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me.